Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, and this is another brand new episode of Who's That Cosplayer? And joining me today on this episode is the fabulous Jenna Say. How are you doing today, Jenna?
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for joining me on another new episode of Who's That Cosplayer? It's an honor having you up here. And before we get into today's interview, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit the bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And as D always says, podcast link in the description. So let's go ahead and get into this interview. Are you ready, Jenna?
I am so ready.
All right, cool. First off, I just want to say I love your cosplay that you're wearing right now. I love Harley Quinn. You're welcome. And that's something that I'm going to talk about as we get further into the interview, because of course I do my research on everybody that I bring on, to whether it be the podcast or YouTube. And like, I see that you're a huge fan of DC, but not just DC, but Harley Quinn in general. So we're going to get to that, and I'm excited to get to that. But before we get to that, every hero or villain has an origin story. Tell everybody that's watching right now, who is Jenna Say?
Jenna Say has a very tragic backstory. I grew up very abused growing up, so that's why a lot of the DC villains kind of like resonate with me pretty deeply. Same thing with like Scarecrow. Both Harley and Scarecrow have some pretty tragic backstories. Scarecrow mostly, though, he has a backstory that's a little bit more similar to mine. But I've taken all of that negativity and dark and turned it into positive. And so I do panels on overcoming abuse and bullying through cosplay, because I'm not going to let something like this tear me down or make me into not so good of a person. I wanted to use all of my experiences for good. So despite always dressing up as the villains, I tend to be more of a hero kind of person. But yeah, so like the Jenna Say backstory is a little bit more like sad, but it's a overcome story kind of thing. So yeah,
that's awesome. I always feel like it's good when you can take stuff that you've gone through and turn it into a positive, so that way that you can help other people, because it's just like, you never know what somebody's going through. And like, that's one of the things about cosplay, is that it helps you become somebody else. And it's in a way you're acting, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you're being that character, because there's so many characters that you can be. And I just think that it's awesome that you use cosplay as a way to help other people, because like I said, you never know what somebody's going through. And I wanted to kind of ask, so how was it when you went to your first con?
Oh man, my first con, I went 2 years before I have my official, like the official start date as a cosplayer. I went in 2 years prior, and I was like, oh my God, everybody is so like, they have these amazing costumes. Like, I feel so subpar to everyone else. So I ended up not even going back for 2 years, just because I was like so overwhelmed, and I felt like I was just such like, I don't know, I felt like I didn't really belong there, even though truthfully looking back on it, I really did. And I really wish I would have, stuck with it instead of like quitting right out of the gate. But 2 years later, I ended up saying, you know what, I'm going to learn how to make a costume. So I made Miss Marvel and ended up going, and I felt so much more comfortable. And I also think it's because like my first costume that I brought to that convention the first go around 2 years prior was a Captain America. I like slapdashed a shield together. It looked terrible. It was awful. It was the most atrocious thing you'll ever see. But like, I just felt like uncomfortable. Like I felt like I could have done more. And going back in after making the costume, I was like, oh my God, no, I'm feeling this. This is exactly what I need. And I think it was more of like the creative outlook or outlet was kind of like unlocked for me. So whenever I first went in with Miss Marvel, I felt much better and much more comfortable and at home. Because I had put some like energy and effort into the costume and and whatnot. And like 2 of my costumes didn't show up on time. So, because I had a Psylocke coming, because I had just bought a Psylocke. I was really sad about that one because I really wanted to wear her, but I ended up redoing my Captain America and had a different shield, and I felt a lot more comfortable, a lot better about it. But I feel like even if you go, if there's like a glimmer of like, you know that you're going to want to do it, just keep up with it. Like, don't let societal like pressures make you feel like you can't be there, because I feel like that was one of the reasons why I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't be here, so I'm just going to stop. And I missed out on 2 years of really fun times.
Yes, so I definitely feel you on that, because we do live in a world when it comes to cosplay where you do have some people who can look down because of what you're wearing, or they may make you feel like that you're not good enough, or they because I've had some cosplayers up here where they said that it's like some cosplayers will be heavy critique. They'll give heavy critiques to what you're wearing and stuff, and like that can kind of dishearten you and wanting to continue to go. So I'm glad that it's like, you know, you went through that phase and then you came back, and you came back stronger. And you know, I love that you mentioned Captain America, because I got the shield on right now.
Yeah, you do.
But you know, I just think it's interesting when you dress up as the character, and like how you said, it's like sometimes you might not feel that you are that character, but it's just like you can't stop, because it's like all it is about leveling up. I said the name. But yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you is, you said that when you first started, it's like you ordered some stuff and you did put some stuff together. Now I see that you have the Harley Quinn costume on right now. Do you still put your own stuff together, like sew your stuff, or like do you order stuff as well?
I order things, I make things, I take things and put them together. It just depends. Like, I have my Enchantress right here, and she's fully made by me painstakingly. All of these like little pieces were cut out by hand by me. I painted them, I punched holes in them, basically made my own chainmail. However, like this jacket, this is actually the Michelle Uberis jacket, which she is the one that made the jackets for the movie. And she did a limited run of them. And since I had already made the jacket, I was like, I don't technically need that jacket, but I was on every costume for Birds of Prey. I had literally all of them 2 weeks after like a picture or a video surfaced. Something I had sunk that much time and energy into like being obsessive about like, okay, I got to get this stuff done. I want to make it as fast as possible. And like, I really pushed myself with the Birds of Prey stuff. Yeah. So I felt like I deserved to give myself that kind of gift of like being able to actually own the official jacket that was made by the same girl. So that was my like little, like, good job. Here's your gold star. You're getting a jacket. So same thing with the necklace. Like these are the Billy Valentine necklace, and that's the official one from the movie. So it's very rare if I do that. If I'm like, I have to have the exact replica, it's very rare if I do that. But because I put so much energy and time into the Birds of Prey stuff, I was like, I at least need this. I at least have to have this. But I'm always an advocate for buy your costumes. Make your costumes, put stuff together. Don't feel like you have to be closed into a box where it's like, oh, you have to make your costume. It's like, no, I mean, if you're going to go into like into the cosplay competition, most of the time we need you, because I've done judging before. Most of the time the rules is that you need to have made at least 90%, or at least like 60%, 90%. It depends on the con, but you know, that's about the time that I'd be like, okay, you needed to make this much of your costume. You didn't, sorry. But as far as it goes, walking the con floor, just do what you want, get what you want. If you don't have the time and you have the money to get like a costume from an online store, like do that. Like some of us we don't have the time to be able to do it. We may not have the skill set yet. But yeah, I'm a firm advocate for, get your costume however you can get it. Don't break your bank, and just have fun with it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because I mean, again, like I said, it's like you do have some people out there that will bash others for not, actually making the stuff themselves. But like you said, it's like everybody doesn't have time. And
Nope.
with cosplay, it's all about having fun. It's all about dressing up. It's kind of like Halloween.
Yes.
You put on a costume and you go out there on the floor, and people, they take pictures with you, or they say, "Oh my God, I love your costume. Thank you for inspiring me to get into cosplay." Do you have any stories like that?
I have stories about like friends of mine like being scared to like make costumes or be a certain character, and like I've persuaded them to like, be the character that you want to be. And like other things that I know that I've helped others with is like some people are like, I really want to cosplay this Harley, like the Suicide Squad Harley, but like I hate my legs. I'm not comfortable showing off that much skin or whatever. And I'm like, you don't have to look identical. Like, I learned pretty early on that there's like a rule of 3. So 3 things that are significant for that character. So Harley, it's obvious. It's like blonde hair, the pink and blue dip dye, or red and black dip dye now. Doing like, the face mask, doing like red and black, or kind of going off that Suicide Squad style, but wearing pants instead. Like, yep. So many people don't realize that you can change that character up to suit your needs. If you are uncomfortable showing something, why would you walk a con floor like that and make yourself uncomfortable all day? Like, I've always been super supportive of friends that are like, I really need to change this up, but I don't know how to. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like my brain starts going, and I'm like, okay. So we're going to do it like this. Do you think that would be more comfortable for you? And they're like, oh yeah. So, that I know that I have those stories. I don't think anybody's ever told me that I feel like people have probably said that I've inspired them, but I'm always like so shy about that. I'm like, me? Like, I'm a very shy gal, even though I'm very outgoing at the same time. I'm a weird dichotomy of things.
No, I mean, it's always awesome. And, I agree with you, because I was telling one of my friends, because I always call her Poison Ivy because she loves plants and stuff like that. And I'm like, yo, you should cosplay as Poison Ivy. And she was just like, I don't know if I should wear that. And I'm just like, yo, like you can do Poison Ivy and not wear the exact same outfit that she has. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, there's 3
red hair,
you can go Ivy. You have the red hair. You have some plants around you, and you wear some green, like the type of green that she wears, and people will notice Poison Ivy. It's just that's the cool thing about cosplay. You know what I'm saying? It's just like you can be a character, and then you can put your own spin on it. And I'm glad that we're talking about Harley Quinn, because like I said earlier in the start of this interview, I saw all your stuff. You're a huge Harley Quinn fan. Like, what is it about Harley that that draws you into her as a character and inspires you to want to always cosplay as her?
I feel like with her backstory, like I suffered being in a very abusive relationship. So she resonates with me on that level. Watching Suicide Squad was a little bit triggering, because I was like, oh my God, like it was pretty straightforward, and it was like, oh, okay, this is not necessarily the best thing for her. And I like the fact that they have, in the comics and in the movies and TV shows and everything, they've really changed her into this like complete, character, where she has all this backstory and she has everything. She's very relatable, I feel. I feel like she doesn't have like the crazy over the top powers that other people may have, but she can still fight with the best of them. And I really appreciate that and love that about that character, is that, she has these powers, but they're not like Wonder Woman. They're not like Superman. They're not like Batman. They're like, well, Batman's more of like, he has tech.
Yeah. And
But she has a disadvantage and she overcomes that disadvantage every time. And especially with them kind of going with the anti-hero route with her now.
yeah.
I feel like she's just an unstoppable force and she's just going to keep on. I feel like at this point, DC is like, she's our cash cow. We have to keep her around. So like, I'm really stoked about the new Suicide Squad movie. Like, I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be great. And I'm excited to see what they do with her in this variation of her, to see how she grows. There's also things that she does that are very me. Whenever I went to go see Birds of Prey, I actually rented out an entire row for my friends.
Nice.
And whenever they do the or whenever they're doing like the big fight scene at the end,
yeah,
in the carnival, she like switches her shoes really fast, and Black Canary goes, "How'd she switch her shoes so fast?" Everyone in the row sat up and looked over at me because they were like, "Oh my God, that's Jen." Because I tend to switch costumes. Like on a Saturday at a con, I normally do a 3 costume change. Unless it's Dragon Con. I once did 7 in a day. I will never do that again. But I switch costumes really fast. So they were just like, "Oh my God, Harley really is Jen." And some of the stuff that she says and does is very characteristic of myself. So them all watching Birds of Prey, like everybody that watched it that even wasn't in the group was sending me texts going, when they said the shoe change thing, we were just like, "Oh my God,
they stole it from you."
It's Jen. There's no doubt about it. And then she's with the new trailer for the Suicide Squad movie, how she's like, "Hey, what you guys doing?" And they're like, there she is. And they were like, we're coming to rescue. And she's like, "Oh, do you want me to go back inside so you guys can rescue me?" And like, that is such a me character trait right there. I'd be like, "Oh no, I didn't realize that there was a thing. Like, I can go back inside. Like, you guys can rescue me," because I feel bad. And she genuinely looked like she felt bad for them. Like, "Oh, they planned this whole thing and I already escaped. Like, do you need me to like switch? Like, I can go back inside." So there's little things like that where I'm just like, I see myself in her a lot, and I'm like, this is my girl.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I like how you had said how popular Harley is, because one of my friends was telling me that her comics are one of the highest selling comics in DC right now. And I love how when she was introduced in Batman, the animated series, how, she was in love with Joker, and Joker, he was very abusive to her. And like, of course there were some episodes where it's like she left, but then she ended up going back. But I love how Harley Quinn has, distanced herself from the Joker, and she's her own woman now. And that's growth right there. You know what I'm saying? Instead of her just being like that one note super villain sidekick where it's just like no matter what he does, she's always gonna stick with him, because we see that with some super villains, where it's just like they're minions or sidekicks, they just stay with them. And Harley, she branched off on her own. And you're right, when DC is like, they saw this and they were just like, okay, like we need to keep pushing this character. So I wanted to ask you, out of all of the versions of Harley Quinn, which one is your favorite?
Oh, that's a really good question. If people are going to be like, what? I'm going to say the Suicide Squad Harley, because for the longest time, I wasn't a fan of Harley. And watching, and I didn't really read her comics. I was really not interested in it because I knew that she was in an abuse situation. I was like, oh, I don't really want to trigger myself, so I'm not going to read this, and I'm not going to like this character. And one of my friends was like, yeah, that's because you saw a piece of yourself in that character and you didn't want to unlock that Pandora's box. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. But the Suicide Squad Harley, as I was watching her, I was like, man, it's undeniable. It's undeniable. She is very similar to my personality and like my, like me, how I would react to the same things. And like, I felt her pain whenever she thought the Joker was dead. Like losing an abuser is hard, and it's heartbreaking at the same time that like it's also like freeing. Not saying that like my abuser died, but like I felt her pain when she was sitting on that car. And then the second that the group shows up and she does that stretch, which I do whenever I'm like sad and I'm like trying to keep myself from crying, I do a stretch. Mm-hmm. And whenever she stretched out on that car and she's like, "Hi boys," I was like, oh no. Yeah, it's undeniable now. So like that Suicide Squad Harley really, she opened up that door for me. She was the key that kind of like opened up this massive Pandora's box now. And now I have like, I think I have 60 Harleys.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah,
you know, I know how you said that, you know, Harley and the Suicide Squad movies, she's kind of similar to you in a way. And when I was doing my research on you, I saw that you had made a post on Instagram where you had did a Harley cosplay, and then DC, they kind of copied the same color scheme and everything.
Yeah.
Like how did that feel? Like, because it's like, there has to be, this is like, yeah, somebody from DC's watching me.
Yeah, my biggest thing was I was like, what? And then I go, wait a second. And then I got really angry because I was like, I want to work for DC. Like, nice. I want to make costumes for DC. That is the career path that I would like to go. That's why I take commissions. That's why I make my own costumes. That's why I'm fast at what I do. So whenever I saw that, I was just like, could you have just hired me? Could you at least give me a shout out? Like, can you give me something to work with here? Because like mine is actually X-Force Harley, which obviously they couldn't do for DC. However, that specific gray and black style is my X-Force Harley. So she's tactical. She's like, she has a necklace that says X-Force on it because I ship Harley and Deadpool.
I knew you were about to say that.
I feel like a lot of people do because they do. I feel like they would be a good couple, to be honest. But yeah, so that was my whole thought process on that is doing like that. And actually Johnny 5 was one of the people that helped me come up with that concept because nice. I was like, should I do like black and what? And he's like, do black and gray and that would be perfect. And I was like, oh, okay. And Johnny actually, we were getting ready to go to a con that weekend. And I was like, okay, I'll go work on this. And he's like, Jen, you only have like 2 days. And I was like, I got this. Like 2 hours later, I sent him a photo of me in the outfit. And he's like, oh my God. Oh my God. What? So it was one of those things where it was a little of a collaborative effort on both Johnny 5 and myself. But I'm glad I did it. But I'm so sad. DC, give me some credit here. Mm-hmm. Hey, credit me or hire me. Hire me would be better.
Who's that cosplayer?
It's Dreadhawk 93. Dreadhawk 93.
Hey, we need to make sure that we tag DC on everything. Like, hey, give my girl Jenna some credit. It's like,
I know, please give me credit.
Y'all saw it, like hook her up, like
yeah, hook me up. Just at least be like, hi Jenna Say what? Like, I don't need it much. I just need some recognition.
Just need a tag. Just tag, because I mean, it's just like the world that we live in now with social media. It's just like all it takes is one tag for somebody to see something. And
yeah, like, oh, and wow. I did post about it because I was like, someone's got to see this, right? Because I made that one, I think like a year or 2 years prior to them actually like posting that. It's like, come on, man.
So next question I have for you is like, what are some of your other favorite cosplays that you've worn besides Harley?
Scarecrow, hands down. He's the easiest one. Like I immediately, like someone will be like, who, like, what's your favorite costume? I'm a Scarecrow. Like they don't even have to get through the sentence. I'm like immediately like Scarecrow. He's my baby. He is like, he was actually one of the third costumes I made.
Nice.
And at some point, I was looking at one of my friends who's been in cosplay for way longer than me. He's really heckin' talented. And I think it's like Steampunk Brett on Instagram. But I was like, I wonder if I put like, because I wanted to do the Arkham Asylum Scarecrow specifically. So I wanted something to make my eyes glow like his. And I was like, do black lights, like mini black lights exist? And my friend Brett's like, oh yeah, they do. I actually have some with me. And I was currently working on Scarecrow's hood at the time. So I was like, oh cool, I have my eyeshadow with me because I have like UV blacklight reactive eyeshadow. I was like, oh, okay, let's try this out. And I hold on to the lights on the hood. I just slapdashed a bunch of like yellow UV eyeshadow and I hold it. Brett turns it on and everyone that was in the room, because we were all having like a craft party, they all go, oh. And I was like, is it working? And they're like, yeah, it's working. And I was like, oh my God, this is how I do Scarecrow. This is how I make him. Yeah. And again, he was my third cosplay. Like I shouldn't have been like, I feel like there was just like something creative in me, because I'm like, I haven't been able to pull off something that like that big of a level up jump from just sewing like tiny bits of stuff to like going into like LEDs and making a huge prop with the fear injectors on the hand. And eventually I ended up making his second pair, which glow. So they have LEDs in the hands and the fingers and everything. And he ended up becoming the cosplay that like I was most notable for. And I still am quite notable for Scarecrow. However, Harley's kind of taken over a little bit. But the Scarecrow fandom is so close knit and so small in comparison to a lot of the other DC villains. So I've actually helped other people become Scarecrow. So actually, I have helped a few people get into cosplay because they wanted to be Scarecrow, and I've Sherpa'd them into like the Scarecrow world and like helped them come out with that. And one of the last cons that I was at before, in the before times, I went to a DC photo shoot, and it was one of the people that I helped get into cosplay as Scarecrow, and we were both Scarecrow. And another Scarecrow shows up, and I'm like, what, 3 Scarecrows in a DC photo shoot? This literally never happens. Yeah. Like, unless it's at a huge con. And then we realized, I look around and I was like, guys, there's not even a Harley or a Joker in this group. And we're all like, and we just sat there staring at each other, and we're like, Scarecrow's won this round. Yay. Like, it was just like, it was so crazy. But Scarecrow has the best stories, I feel. I won third place at the Bunny Hutch at Dragon Con, third place overall with my Scarecrow bunny. So, and I remember walking in with Scarecrow, and all of the judges stopped what they were doing and they looked over at me, and I was like, oh, that's a good sign. That's a good sign, because I lit up half the room. Yeah. And I was like, yes. And I stayed around, and there it was. I got third place, and I was like, nice. Oh my God, like, it's just crazy. So Scarecrow has a lot of the best stories, I think, but Harley is also my girl. I like to think of them as the king and queen of my cosplay castle.
Yeah, and like I've seen all of the cosplays that you've had on your page, but like that's awesome that Harley Quinn and Scarecrow, like you said, they're the king and queen of Jenna Say What's cosplay world. Now, something that I love to do up here is because, people, your fans, they know who Jenna Say What the cosplayer is, but who is Jenna behind the costume? Like, what are some of your hobbies that you're into?
Hobbies I'm actually into, like, I really do love sewing. I really enjoy like working with my hands and being able to like create things out of nothing. I like watching like TV shows. I like going out and just like being around friends and just, doing that kind of thing. I think a lot of my hobbies and interests have kind of like intersected with cosplay. So a lot of them are like, I'll sit there and be like, I really want to make a jumpsuit. Like, Every now and then Joanne Fabrics will get in like some like stretch Halloween style fabric, and I'm like, I'm gonna make a jumpsuit out of this just to wear regularly. And so I'll just make things like that. Or I play video games. I might be getting back into streaming soon. So it's definitely something that I enjoy doing. I love playing horror games, except for I cannot play them solo. Like if I'm just like sitting down to play a video game, can't do horror games. So like I haven't even played the Resident Evil game yet, because I can't separate reality from fiction when I play those games. So I get like really bad panic attacks during them. However, the key is if I stream them, I'm paying more attention to the chat and like entertaining. And then I literally just, it doesn't bother me. So I played quite a few like horror games during my streaming time, and I want to get back into that because I really want to play the Resident Evil game.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and I play Overwatch, I play Elder Scrolls Online, things like that. So a lot of my time is like spent either like playing video games or like just chillaxing, because like everything's so crazy anyways.
Yeah.
Or just like making clothing or cosplay, or learning new things as well. Like I love going on YouTube and just like, how do you do this? How do you do that? And especially for cosplay, like figuring out new ways to do things really helps kind of keep my mind sharp and doing that kind of stuff. So yeah,
I agree with you on the whole YouTube thing, because I know I was doing like a Good Burger cosplay and I couldn't find I can't remember what the name of the hat is called, but it's like I couldn't find those hats anywhere. And I went on YouTube, and like they had a video up there that was just like, all you need is some paper. You need a couple of sheets of white paper. You can put it together and then you'll have the hat. And that's one of the things that I love about YouTube, is that you can literally go up there and find anything.
Yep.
And it'll help you in whatever you're trying to do. I wanted to piggyback off of what you had said about the Resident Evil game, because I haven't played that yet, but I find it funny that you say that, that the Resident Evil games, like they scare you, because for the longest time when I was a kid, it's like, I couldn't play a Resident Evil game, especially I think it was Resident Evil 2. Like the zombies just scared me. Like I remember I had got far in the game for my cousin, and like I never killed anybody. All I did, I just kept running, because I was just I thought the zombies were going to kill me. And it wasn't until Resident Evil Code Veronica X where I was just like, all right, I'm a teenager now. I need to put my fears away and I need to beat this game. But the newer Resident Evil games, like they're really scary. Like Resident Evil 7, like I played the demo for that. And I remember like I was on the phone with my boy and I just screamed, and he was just like, why were you screaming like a little girl? And I was just like, bro, it's like
you don't understand.
You don't understand. And I still haven't played the demo for Resident Evil 8 or the full game, because it's out now, but it is something that I do want to play eventually. But yeah, like it's cool that that you do these things when you're not cosplaying. And I wanted to piggyback off of something that you had said, because you mentioned Halloween fabric, and on your page, like I see that you're big into horror stuff. So like what are some of your favorite horror movies that you're into?
Halloween is like my number one. So fun story is like growing up, I think I was 2 years old whenever I watched my first horror movie, which was a timeless classic from 1986, which is called Mr. Boogedy from Disney, of all places. That's whenever Disney was real dark. And my parents let me watch it. And like looking back on it, it's like super cheesy. Like if you watch it, cut it some slack. It's from 86. It's weird. But my parents were like, oh, she's fine with this. Like, and I went to the video store and my parents are like, what do you want to watch now? And I was like, I want to watch this. And I'm like holding up Halloween. They're like, she was fine with the other one. And then just like, let me watch it. And so like horror movies specifically, like that kind of genre of like slasher films, tend to give me a lot of comfort. Because of the fact that it was a movie that I literally grew up with. So, like even the Halloween movies that were redone by Rob Zombie, I'm a fan of Rob Zombie. So like, I'm probably a little biased on that, but, I really enjoyed it. so like I'm really excited about him doing the Munsters because I love the Munsters.
Yeah.
And I grew up watching the Addams Family too. So like I was always a little bit of a spooky child.
Yeah.
Growing up, it was like I always wanted to be Lily Munster or Morticia Addams whenever I grew up. So like that was kind of my thing. And like now I kind of did grow up a little bit to become my own kind of goth style, you know, person. So it's just like, I don't know, like horror movies and stuff like that always kind of give me a little bit of a comfort, which is very strange. But like another movie that I really like is like House on Haunted Hill. I love most all black and white horror films.
Nice.
Highly recommend if anybody's never seen Nosferatu live. I know Alamo does them, but there's a Invincible Stars who it does sheet music for them and does like live music to the show because fun fact, Nosferatu was actually supposed to be destroyed and someone basically pirated Nosferatu. They stole it from the pile.
Yeah.
And so the soundtrack doesn't exist anymore. The music score doesn't exist anymore. It was destroyed. But not someone decided to pirate Nosferatu way back in the day, and that's how we still have it. So Invincible Stars made a soundtrack to it, and it is beautifully done. And I know that it's not what you would consider like really like a horror movie nowadays, but back in that time, it was terrifying. People were scared. It was horrifying. And watching things like that, watching like the old black and whites, I really enjoy those. I'm very, very strange whenever it comes to that kind of stuff. Like I love old movies, and I was kind of raised a little bit by my grandmother. So she kind of taught me like the classics and things like that. So like definitely older horror movies are definitely my thing. I really like that. Poltergeist is another one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so good. And then on top of that, all the conspiracy theories behind it, like the whole set was haunted. Like I'm a sucker. Yeah, I'm a sucker for anything like that. If there's like a crazy conspiracy theory that's like attached to a movie, I'm like, I love this. This is the best. Like it just gives like an added level of like, but it could be real kind of thing. And I'm like, I love it.
Yeah. Same, like doing those deep dives to seeing like, is this real? Like, did this really happen? Or even too, when it comes to just watching movies and just trying to find like all the Easter eggs and doing research for it. Like when I had watched Hereditary for the first time, I had watched it, I want to say it was about like a year or two after it had came out. And after I watched it, I was just like, okay, I need to go on YouTube. I need to see like what this meant, what that meant. And it was very eye-opening. And I just love that, movies, they do that to us. It's like, of course, there are some people that watch a movie and it's just a popcorn flick and then they just keep it moving. But then you have people like us, it's just like, no, I want to know the backstory. I want to know like why this happened. Like, was this set cursed? Like, was this person cursed? Because it's always fun. It's not fun that the person is cursed or they died, but it's fun to, just look into this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, one last thing I wanted to bring up, and then we can go ahead and wrap this thing up, is I saw that for Halloween, you do 31 days of cosplay. Are you going to be doing that again this year?
I do that every year.
Nice,
at this point,
nice.
I still have enough to be able to do 31 days. Like, I have never done a duplicate so far, which is insane because I think this is like year 4 or 5. Nice. And I'm like, I have a lot. And everybody's like, Jen, you haven't ever repeated. And I'm like, I know. And they're like,
that's good.
Yeah, all right though. I'm like, it's a cry for help. Please send me to rehab. I need cosplay rehab. But yeah, so like I have a ton of stuff that I do for those, and it's a nice way to be able to see all my costumes all at once and be like, oh yeah, I forgot I have that one deep in the closet and I should probably pull it out and like wear that again. So I originally did it as a way to kind of like make sure, like, see all of the cosplays I have, like almost like a catalog of my cosplays. Yeah. So that was like my original reasoning for it. And then it just kind of like became a thing. And I was like, okay, perfect. This is great. So that's what I'll be doing probably until I can't anymore.
Yeah, until the end of time.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. But yeah, thank you for coming up here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Who's that cosplayer? And you know, it was fun talking with you and just learning more about you. And I hope that all of your fans and followers, it's just like they were able to find out more on Jenna Say What, because they did a deep dive into this episode. So before I let you go, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you at.
So Instagram is at Jenna_Say_what. TikTok, which is one of my bigger platforms, which I post on regularly, and I have all of my original character content there. Nice. So go check out my girls. That's at Jenna Say What, all one word. Facebook is at Jenna Say What official, and that's pretty much all the ones that are like the main ones.
Awesome. Thank you. Everybody that's watching, make sure that you go follow her at all of her accounts that she mentioned. And you know where you can find me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you again for watching another brand new episode of Who's That Cosplayer. Like I always say, keep that pinky up, stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.